Hello, everybody, and welcome to Made in New England interview series, where we talk with New England-based businesses and the people who lead them. I'm your host, Steve DeVries, and today I am joined by Doran Dal Pra of the New England Holiday Light Company. Doran, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. Well, we're happy to have you. I always like to start by asking our guests, just tell us who you are, a little bit about yourself, and tell us about your business.
Yeah, totally. So like you said, my name is Doran Dal Pra. I'm a New Hampshire native. I grew up right here in Dunbarton. Married. I just had my first child is a girl, and she'll be 5 months old this coming Monday. So
Congrats.
doing the parenthood thing in addition to running the business thing. So life is very busy and full of wild new adventures and challenges and learning all sorts of things. And yeah, like you said, the business is the New England Holiday Light Company. We started it 6 years ago. My business partner Jeff Paquin and I, and it was like we were talking before. It started out as a little side hustle hobby thing. We heard that you could hang Christmas lights. Who knew you could make a business out of hanging Christmas lights? And it's grown into a multi-million dollar traveling this a whole bunch of different states, employing loads of people, moving into new spaces, starting new DBAs. So over the course of a couple of years, it's really expanded into something that was not planned for, but has been uh, a wonderful kind of evolution of the whole idea. So that's kind of where we are.
So those are the most fun kinds of businesses, right? They start out doing something kind of fun, and now all of a sudden you've got this great big thing happening.
Yeah,
So congrats on that.
thank you.
What do you think has driven your success to this point?
That's an interesting question. The first thing that pops into my brain is the quality and the quality of the people that we have kind of been really fortunate to involve in the whole project. Um, our general manager and our sales director are family and friends of both Jeff and I. They're enormously talented, enormously intelligent, have brought a whole range of skills and experiences that Jeff and I have do not have. And so we're very fortunate to have them here to kind of contribute to that. And I think honestly, we talk about it pretty frequently in our leadership meetings and between Jeff and myself, is that I think one of the things that we have really strived for, and one thing that I do think we do particularly well, is creating a good culture here. A lot of the staff that are part of our installation team, our field services team, are younger, so we have this like exuberant, fun, wacky energy that is just really fun to be around. We've made a lot of efforts to kind of channel that, to keep that, to hold that, to not get big and corporate, and now we have to quash everything and keep things standardized. There's an element of that for sure, but I think we do a really nice job, credit to a lot of people, in creating like this. I regularly hear that this is like a really fun place to be, and that we get to do neat things and make people happy, and we have a good time doing it. So
Well, yeah,
that's yeah,
you have a business based around, the holidays, which is supposed to be a
yep,
happy time, and
exactly,
lights make people happy. So that it's
exactly,
great that service carries over into your culture. And I think
yeah.
it's great that you have so many people that are close to you working in the business. So
Mm.
uh, has that presented any interesting challenges along the way, like having people that you already know that you're close to operating the business alongside of you?
Mm. You know, when we first started talking about bringing some of these people on board, primarily my sister-in-law, and my best friend Anthony, who's actually the best man at my wedding. Um, when we first started talking about bringing them on board, some of the feedback that we got from other people when we would talk to them about, hey, like Ashley might be coming on, Anthony might be coming on. Oh, watch out, like family and business, like be really careful. And I think as a huge credit to them as people, we have been, I'm going to find a piece of wood. We've been very fortunate to not really run into too many of those issues. I think there is a level that we've kind of experienced. I mean, if somebody's like really passionate about something or really convicted about something that might be counter to what I feel or what they feel, if that person's like my sister-in-law, we then have to take those feelings and kind of put them aside when we go to like Christmas at my parents' house or we go out to dinner or something like that. But I think, like I was saying, as a credit to them as people, it has been, at least up until this point, surprisingly not as challenging in that regard as I kind of expected it to be. I was never anticipating like, oh man, this business is now going to ruin my friendships or ruin my family relationships. It has been nowhere even remotely close to that. There have been some points where it's like, all right, maybe we need to take a break, or maybe we need to talk this out after work. Let's kind of address some sorts of things. But we've been really fortunate to not have to deal with too much of that. So I'm eternally grateful for for that happening.
It's encouraging to hear you talk about it that way because I think there's a lot of businesses out there that employ family, employ friends, and maybe struggle with that a little bit. So I think to hear a success story, right, makes all the difference in the world sometimes for people to know that it can be done. And it's really just a matter of understanding maybe what some of those boundaries happen to be, or have some ways to deal with those passionate moments. You mentioned passion, and I was kind of
Yes.
chuckling to myself a little bit because it's a great way to phrase it. Um, so let me ask you this. So, for all the business geeks like myself out there, businesses have KPIs, they have metrics,
Hmm.
things that we pay attention to in order to understand, is our business healthy or not? Is it going where we want it to go? So in a service, oriented business like yours, what types of metrics, KPIs, things of that nature do you look at as a leader of the business to know that it's going in the direction that you want it to go?
That's a perfectly timed question, Steve, because we have spent so much time recently delving into that exact question. Um, we are, I whether you are or aren't, not necessarily important. We've implemented traction into our business, so the whole EOS concept, which really promotes KPIs and scorecards and everybody having a number and following these metrics and things. And so we started implementing that system. I think it was in the summer of last, or it's I think it's almost been a year since we started kind of deploying traction into our business. And so it's been a really interesting exercise going from, I sometimes I refer to it when I speak about the past, about it kind of being the Wild West when it was basically just me and Jeff and any random friend that dude, I need some help hanging lights. Come with me. Where we just kind of shot from the hip and did what a lot of businesses do. You just kind of fake it till you make it and wing it and figure it out as you go. And so it's been an interesting transition going from the Wild West to, wow, okay, now I think keeping an element of the Wild West is like kind of fun and it keeps things interesting, but you need to really nail some stuff down. So in terms of metrics that we talk about on a pretty consistent basis, obviously sales, revenue, that kind of thing is top of mind. But I think the biggest thing for me personally, being more involved in kind of the field services and the operation side of the business, is keeping a pulse on quality of installs, the time that's being spent on an install. Like if I were to quote somebody's house, we have systems in place and some software that allows us to like see how many crew will go to that job, how long they've been on the job, to keep track of the quality of the installation of that job. So those are the very first things that pop into my brain when somebody asks me about KPIs, is like the deliverables, and making sure that we're not spending too much time there. We are doing what we said we were going to do. We're not using too much material. We're executing on this particular level of quality that we commit to. Um, Fortunately, Ashley, Anthony, Jeff are really, really good at the more specific kind of global KPIs that we try to focus on as a business. The area that I spend a lot of time thinking about and working on is that kind of stuff, is the execution in the field. Do those numbers match what we said we were going to do? Was stuff quoted appropriately? What is like the labor to dollar ratio? How much material? That kind of stuff. Does that kind of answer your question? I know it might have been a little bit ambiguous,
No,
but
so it's great. I love the detail. Like I said, I'm a little bit of a business geek, so hearing all of that, hearing that you're using EOS, which is a really great way to help you organize your business and promote
mm.
communication from, all the different facets of the business. Everybody has their rocks, right? We know who the
Exactly.
visionary
Yep.
is and who the integrator is,
Yep.
and so
Yep.
forth. Yeah, that's exciting to me. And again, I think, so to tie this back into the sort of the friends and family type of business that you have, a system like EOS, I think, can be really helpful because it helps
Yes.
maybe take some of that passion a little bit out of the conversation and keeps it focused on what it is that we're trying to accomplish, right? And how to hold each other
Yep.
accountable and maybe help remove some of that passion, right? That
Mm.
can funnel over into the holidays when we're all gathering and so forth, and keep work at work, and keep, allow us to have our personal lives as well. So
Exactly. And
yeah, kudos.
one of the things that I really like about EOS and Traction is it takes two things. Number one, it takes a lot of the ambiguity as we've been building the business. It takes a lot of that. Who does what? Where do we go? How does this supposed to work? I may have these ideas about business, but what in the world are we even doing? It takes a lot of that ambiguity out. And Jeff and um, I mean, we've kind of dabbled in some entrepreneurial ventures in the past, but this is unquestionably the most serious business that we've ever been involved in. So with that being said, like we didn't come from a background that was like, oh yeah, no, I've been a general manager of X, Y, and Z company. I've owned a bunch of businesses before. I know exactly what I'm doing. We didn't at all. And so we've been like kind of figuring it out as we go. And so EOS has been a really helpful tool. And I feel like we implemented it at a really nice time as the business is starting to scale, as we're trying to take this to like a more serious place, as we're trying to be more profitable and enrich the lives of the people who work here. It was a really nice, like, oh my God, wow, like this can actually take a lot of the questions and the ambiguity out of trying to figure out how to make a business and make it not fall apart.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So you're obviously excited about your business, right? You've got all these great things going on. You're doing it with great people. It's growing. It sounds like it's been maybe a little bit of a pleasant surprise in terms of what it's
It
turned
has.
into.
Yep.
So when you think about what your business looks like in the future, what excites you most about that?
That's an excellent question. What excites me most about the future? Man, there's like a lot. Um, I think on like a personal note, I want to hit two notes. The personal note, I think, is I've always really and if I go onto a tangent, remind me that I had a second point because I often do that and then I forget what the heck I was just talking about. Um, I think for me personally, it's been really exciting to feel like we found something. Like this could be. I have no delusions of like living on a yacht in Monaco just because we hang some lights, but this is all the feedback that I've gotten, the reactions from people that I've seen, the people that I've talked to, the people that we worked with, the crew that's here when I talk to them. It's really exciting in like the most exciting way possible to think that, wow, like maybe we are onto something and maybe this could be like the thing. And with my tiny young family now, like, oh my goodness, like how could this, not just from a selfish perspective, like what it can do for me, but like I look at my daughter and oh my God, like what could this do for her? What kind of trajectory could we put that on? So seeing that and feeling that on a personal note is like incredibly exciting. And I actually remembered my second note. What I'm excited for in the future, we're like already kind of exploring the future right now. We've signed a lease on a brand new space right in Bedford, so kind of halfway, kind of closer to Wyndham where you are. So we're gonna be moving facilities. Right now we've got 1,600 foot warehouse spaces, and we're going to be moving into one singular 10,000 square foot warehouse. So we're going to be putting all of our junk into one place so we don't have to bop around. Um, so just literally watching the business expand and walking into that big beautiful place and being like, wow, this is where we are now. And we also launched, so in addition to the holiday piece, 3 years ago, we on again kind of on a whim, we introduced wedding and event lighting into the company as a way to kind of fill, because obviously holiday lighting is seasonal. But Jeff and I were not interested in this just being like a one trick pony, and we like do some fun stuff for a little bit and then we go back to work for the next 9 months. So we just, again, kind of on a whim, introduced wedding and event lighting, and that has absolutely exploded, which has helped kind of round the whole business out. So now it's year round. So the staff that we have, they can stay on year. The great staff that we have can stay on all year round, which is really fun. And so the point that I'm getting to is we've just recently launched a new DBA that's specific to the wedding and event business. It's called Premier Lighting of New England. It's the same company. We're not doing anything different, but we are a whole new marketing strategy, a whole new look, a whole new logo, a whole new way to market and create content for this segment of the business that we're super, super excited about. So the future kind of feels like it's happening right now because we've just launched all this new stuff. We're moving into a new space, and you can almost like tangibly feel the future coming, which is kind of fun. And I promise that's not an evasive answer. Like,
No,
but
no, that's actually it's an amazing answer, Doran. And you talk about it with such excitement and passion, right? It makes my head start thinking about, well, where else can you put lights, right?
mm-hmm.
So,
Lots of fun places.
as you're explaining to me, I'm thinking about, how many homes have we been to where people like me are putting up, makeshift lighting in their backyard around a fire pit, and you look at it like, yeah, it kind of doesn't look so great, but we're getting some lighting in, right? Or
Mm,
people put in outdoor hockey rinks in the
yep.
wintertime or what have you. And I think, wow, some nice lighting around that would really make it look cool. So really the premier lighting of New England idea makes complete sense.
Yeah, it's something we're super super excited about. And it's funny when you were saying that just now. So I joke with some of the crew, and it applies especially to the holidays, like you were saying before we started. You drive by and you see people, and this isn't, I'm not throwing shade in anybody putting up their own lights because that's wonderful. But once you do this, and once you like in a professional capacity, and you do it for work, it's really hard to not drive by somebody's house and be like, oh, that's right. Or you go to a restaurant, you sit outside, and because my wife is involved in the business too. You go outside in the summertime to like a wonderful restaurant or whatever, and you're sitting out on the patio, and you look up, and I immediately like start judging their lighting. I'm like, all right, what did they use for anchors? And oh, they missed a zip tie. Like you can't unsee it. And so even the crew now, even the guys have been here for like 3 weeks. Yeah, man, I can't unsee that. And I'm like, that's never gonna go away.
Yeah, it
You're
sounds
always
like you
gonna
need
be
to
looking.
carry, you got to carry a lot of business cards with you.
Yes, you do.
Well, so, we've talked about a lot of fun and exciting stuff, but I always like to ask guests, so what concerns you most about the future of your business? What things might keep you up, or really just be daunting to you?
Mm, that's a great question. I think for me, it's probably I feel a level of confidence and conviction in what we're doing and in the people that are here that I don't honestly spend a lot of time thinking about that. But if I had to think about it, I think it's for me, it's probably the people element, making sure that the the staff that we do have, we do continue to create a great culture for them. We do continue to create this being a fun and interesting and cool, exciting place to come to work. I want to make sure that we are continually doing right by the staff that we have, and making this a profitable and fun place to be. Um, and so I think it's probably, and if I thought about it more, I might be able to give you a different answer. But I think the one that pops in my brain now is like I in addition to the field services, my role is kind of morphing into making sure the culture stays, making sure the passion stays, making sure people are safe, making sure the quality is delivered when we go to somebody's house or do a big project. So maybe not the world's best answer, but I think that's kind of where my brain goes, is making sure it's safe and fun here, and we don't lose the spirit of that.
Yeah, I would summarize that as maybe growing pains, right? Making sure that
Hmm.
the growing pains don't become too much, right? Because those
Right.
those things that you just described are they're definitely things that we experience as growing pains. Like all of a
Sure.
sudden, maybe we've gotten too big and some things haven't been the same or what have you. So yeah, just categorize it as growing pains and
I like that.
if
And
that's a
making sure those growing pains don't develop into chronic ailments that never go away.
100%, absolutely. So the show's all about businesses in New England and the people that lead them. So
Mhm.
if you think about being here in New England or in New Hampshire specifically, any pros or cons about being here that you can think of as it relates to your business?
Um, Pros, I think are numerous. Um, when it comes to the holiday thing, I mean, I feel like, especially the Northeast, there's like the quintessential holiday festive lights, snow, sleigh rides, kids think like that whole concept that obviously works really nicely with what we are doing. People, I feel like in this area, this probably applies to everywhere, but I feel like especially here, people are really passionate about the holidays, and are willing to do interesting things and try new stuff. And hey, Mrs. Jones, that tree is really beautiful. I'd love to wrap that. Okay, great. Let's do that. So I think in terms of the holidays, that's really interesting. And then especially, I mean, we've been talking so much about the expanding the wedding and event business and kind of exploring that space even more than we already are. And I feel like our even just like our geographic location, the proximity to Boston, the proximity to Portland, the proximity to the Lakes region in New Hampshire, there's a lot of wedding business to be had in here. There's a lot of things that are happening here. There's a lot of other businesses that are moving in and expanding and doing interesting things. So I think just the nature of where we are and the quality of the people where we are lends itself really well to what we do. Making beautiful spaces, putting people in fun and interesting places to live and work and do that. So I think the pros are endless. um, and lighting is not something. It's not a fad. It's not going to go away. So I think we're in a nice spot. And again, kind of geographically, there's a lot of people here, and there's a lot of stuff happening here. And so it's a. I think we're in a great position to continue to capitalize on that. And for cons, I mean we like a lot of other businesses, especially services businesses, we kind of struggle a little bit with the hiring people and finding quality people, but that I think that applies to anywhere you are in any business that you're in, really. So honestly, I again, maybe if I thought about it for a little bit longer, I can't think of too many cons. I feel like we're really fortunate to be where we are, and I'm very grateful for where we are and what we're doing. So
Amazing. So last question for me. Any advice for budding business leaders, entrepreneurs, maybe people who are partners with their friends, something along
mm,
those lines? Any words of wisdom that you might want to share with them?
sure. I feel like I could talk for about 20 minutes about that, and I definitely will not. I think one of the things that we did correctly and we continue to reap the benefits of is surrounding ourselves. And it started out with Jeff and I, and it has grown to like our whole leadership team, surrounding that whole team with a wide variety of sources, inputs, different minds, being around people that you trust and respect, gathering information from multiple places. I think it's easy, especially at the beginning. Maybe like you have an idea about a business, or you start a business, and then you tell your neighbor, and your neighbor's like, oh, blah 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 blah. This is why it won't work. That's why it won't work. And it's easy to be like, oh, well, this person told me it's not going to work, so maybe I don't. Maybe it's not a good idea. Um, we've made a very conscious effort to seek out people and gather counsel from people that we trust in a wide range of different fields, and not rely on a single, being convicted in what we're doing and believing in what we're doing, but also making sure that we're gathering from a wide range of sources, so we're not funneled into one perspective. Um, so I think that has been super helpful and is certainly something that I would recommend. And kind of to part of the question that you asked about, like, oh, like starting a business with your friends and your family. I think just if there's anything that I've learned among the myriad of things that I've learned in doing this is the value of communication. I'm the type of person who likes to communicate, but also I just like want to go do stuff and I want to go have fun and make the thing happen. But and while that may have worked in the beginning, as the company gets bigger and as you involve more people and more minds and more perspectives and more opinions, making really sure that and I don't think you need to go crazy with it, but like making sure people are on the same page. So what I might feel a certain way about a thing, and if I just go do it and it's counter to what my business partner believes because we didn't talk about it, that can create a rift, that can make things weird, that can screw something up, and that's obviously the last thing that we want to do. So I think just getting into the habit of communicating and being clear and making sure people are on the same page has been enormously valuable and is unquestionably one of the most important things that I've learned doing this so far. And if I knew that starting, I'm sure we would have been way farther along than we already are. Just making sure you like talk about the thing. It's like any relationship, communication is like fundamental, especially here when there's so much riding on it. So that's I think that's the other part of my answer.
Well, I think whether or not you could be further along or not, you've certainly brought this business along really far so far, and I can't wait to see how much further you take it.
Me
Uh,
too.
Doran Del Pra of the New England Holiday Light Company and now Premier Lighting of New England. It's been a
Mm-hmm.
pleasure to have you on. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you, Steve. It's been a genuine pleasure. I appreciate it.
All right, and thanks to everybody for watching and listening. We'll be back again soon with another episode of Made in New England. Have a great day.